So it is an honor to be here with Dr. Joe Jacobi at the Kentucky State Dental Meeting, the annual meeting in Louisville. We're right by the river. Dr. Joe Jacobi graduated from the Indiana University School of Dentistry in 1975. After running a successful solo practice for 36 years, he transitioned to a different type of dentistry. Over the last 8 years, he has made 15 trips to areas in the U.S. and 13 countries in Central and South America, the Caribbean, India, Africa, and the Philippines. He has traveled with the U.S. Navy as well as with civilian, university, and non-government organization. In addition, he serves as a mentor to the Pre-Dental Society at the University of Louisville and has taken many students to remote area medical, RAM, clinics in Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia, as well as the Louisville Dental Society community clinics. Dr. Jacobi also serves as the volunteer director of manufacturing and technology development at WaterStep, a Louisville-based nonprofit that responds to critical needs for safe water and infection prevention in developing countries and disaster situations by evaluating and implementing simple solutions and teaching people to use these tools. He has helped people build water treatment systems in Central and South America, India, Africa, the Upper Amazon, and Puerto Rico. Dr. Jacobi lives in Louisville, Kentucky, is a life member of the ADA, is a fellow of the Academy of General Dentistry and the American College of Dentists. Joe, it's an honor for you to come on the show.
Well, thank you, Howard.
It looks like you've gone from private practice to volunteerism.
That's true. That's true.
Tell us about your journey and how that happened.
It kind of happened because I was very intense on building my private practice and really focused on that for many years. I'd been to some of your seminars back in the early years of my practice and really loved private practice. After a while, I got a little tired of it, you might say, running the office and doing all the business side of it, but I just thought I needed a break. And so I took some time. I was able to find a buyer for my practice very quickly. Was able to sell it, took some time off, did a little fishing, and began to see what I might do for this next part of my life. I retired, sold the practice when I was 60.
So that was 8 years ago you sold it?
Yeah.
At 60 years old, and it was here in Louisville?
It was across the river in southern Indiana.
Oh, so right across that river is Indiana.
Across, yeah.
Now it sounds like a dumb question, but I wouldn't
now
think
you
about
have
that.
Geography lesson.
Yeah. So you lived in Louisville but practiced in Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
So you were a Hoosier?
Yeah, I grew up in southern Indiana originally.
And they figured out what a Hoosier actually
moved
means?
over here with my wife, got a house, and kept the practice over there.
And so what did when you retired was it how was entering retirement? Some people think it's going to be fun, and then they get bored or depressed, or it's hard on the spouse because she was used to you being gone all day, and now you're in her face all day. How was the transition from?
Well, it takes an adjustment for sure. We had been in planning. My wife and I, we're planners. We started out about 10 years before I actually made the move of looking at finances, seeing what we could do to build the practice to make it more desirable, including upgrading equipment, decorating the office appropriately, keeping things fresh, just like you might do a house, but you're wanting to sell and get a good price for it. You do some things to keep it spruced up. And so we incorporated fully computerized office. We had incorporated digital X-ray, added laser. We did moved into the high tech because the person I was envisioning would be my buyer would be a younger person who would expect to see some of those things in the office. It may not be the brand that they would have chosen if they were buying, but I've got first-rate stuff that will do the work for them. So I tried to make the practice very desirable, and we started about 10 years before we end up actually selling, because I didn't know exactly when that was going to happen. About 5 years before we end up selling, we spent time in earnest, both Kathy and I, of really looking at not only what we were doing with the practice, but what will we do after we sold the practice. So we went to some adult college courses about, don't retire, rewind, or that sort of thing.
Don't retire, but rewind?
Yeah, I can't think of the exact name, but it was something along that line of, if I was planning to retire somewhere between age 60 and 65. I'm in good health. Our finances were in order. So I expected to be able to do something. I haven't learned how to play golf yet, and that's still on my list, but it keeps getting pushed down. I keep finding other things I want to do.
And that was 8 years ago? So you're 68 then. You look great. You still got your...
Thank you.
You do. You look great, great, great.
Thank you. So we worked really hard, what turned out 5 years before we actually retired, of really tuning in on finances, exploring a little bit what we might do after we sold the practice. Did I want to keep working in somewhere in some capacity? We plan to do some traveling, which we have. Of course, I want to do some fishing and some other things, but I still wanted to be useful. I still wanted to be engaged in the world. I still wanted to be engaged with people. I still liked dentistry and liked doing it, but I also wanted to do something that gives me a purpose. I'm kind of procedure driven. I kind of like to do things and make things, which is one reason I became a dentist, not a physician. I like to create and help people by making things.
Surgeons work with their hands. What percent of dentists do you think work with their hands? And what percent of physicians do you think work with their hands?
I think dentists by far are, from the ones I've met and worked with, the average GP physician that I've had the most experience with have a lot in their head, but don't have it in the hands.
Right.
They can diagnose and prescribe and do wonderful things, medicine that way, but when it comes to making stuff, not so much.
And what they don't realize is that AI is coming after them the fastest, because
Right.
if you have a submarine that's underwater for 6 months with 800 souls on board, you couldn't have a physician specialized in anything anyway.
Right.
And AI is coming after healthcare like a rocket, but it can't touch dentistry. I mean, I've been into countries where an ATM machine, you stick in your medical card, and your prescription comes out of an ATM machine. But you're not going to get a root canal or a filling or a crown done by AI or an artificial. But
dentistry is so procedure oriented. It takes a mind and it takes trained hands to make it happen.
Yeah, and I like working with my hands.
I do too.
I mean, I think it's very, very fun. But it seemed like you've really taken a turn into missionary dentistry.
Well, I kind of backed into that.
Was there a beep, beep, beep as you were backing up?
Yeah,
into
it kind of was. Kind of was. I was. My wife was vice president of the community foundation here in Louisville. And so she had contact with many of the nonprofits in the area. And I said, I'm really interested in selecting a nonprofit or interviewing some to see if they have a place that I might fit, that would appeal to me. Well, she made a few suggestions, and I ended up with, as you read in the bio, a group called WaterStep. And WaterStep was a beginning, a fairly new nonprofit. And we talked about how important water, having safe water, is to a community and to the health of the population. And to me, that sounded like healthcare. Also, I grew up in an engineering background of civil engineering, water systems, sewage treatment plants, and things of that nature. And so that appealed to me as well. And they were starting to build, design and build equipment to treat water. So I got involved with them. And it so happened that they were requested by the Navy to be an NGO on a humanitarian trip to the Central and South America. And of course, I ran into the dental department and they said, "Hey, you're a dentist. Why don't you come work with us when you get a chance?" So that was my initiation in doing restorative dentistry, extraction, missionary type dentistry, if you will, kind of by the back door with the Navy.
You know what I always think of missionary dentistry from my perspective is these Americans, they think they have all these problems. And I did my first missionary dentistry trip back in the day, and I realized I don't have any problems. I mean, the stats on this waterstep.org, well, first of all, I was thinking of if you reduce to 8 billion humans to 3, one has a smartphone, one has a cell phone not connected to the internet, and one doesn't have either.
Exactly.
Waterstep.org, 748 million humans don't have access to clean water. 80% of all diseases worldwide are caused by contaminated water, and 3.5 million people die every year from water-related diseases. And then she's all, the millennials, she just graduated, she's all stressed out because she has student loan debt.
Right.
Would you rather be $287,000 in student loan debt or drinking dirty water?
Water, yeah.
Do you think a lot of people don't realize what's going on out there?
We don't realize it here. I never realized it, the scope of it. I realized it because having grown up in civil engineering with my father, in his business, I knew about water contamination, sewage contamination, how you keep the two separated. You have to have a certain amount of infrastructure to keep a healthy population. And to me, that sounded a lot like healthcare. We're trying to keep people healthy.
Yeah.
People here don't realize that we take water that's safe to drink.
Well,
just like air, it's here.
But I even there was a city in Michigan. What was the city that
had Flint, Michigan.
What do you think of Flint, Michigan water compared to water in the developing nation?
Well, Flint, Michigan's problem, if you remember, was because of lead contamination in some of the ways from the old water system. And the lead redissolved into the drinking water supply. You could drink that water and have it free of germ contaminations. So it's basically safe to drink. Now, if you drink leaded water for longer periods of time, you could see developmental problems, especially in younger kids, where they absorb the lead more frequently. The problem in a large part of the world, it's contaminated with feces, with animal and human. There's no water treatment at all. So for a short period of time, if I were in Flint, Michigan, I wouldn't have any problems drinking the water from the system. If I were in Tanzania and drank the raw water, I would almost guaranteed be sick within 24 hours.
Yeah, I did volunteer dentistry at an orphanage in Tanzania, and really got schooled. I mean, number one, the doctors were telling the kids to drink Coke because Coke was clean.
Right.
And other countries were like, oh no, they'll get decay. And it's like, decay and obesity is not the issue, it's bacterial infection.
Exactly.
And I also have seen the dentists listening to the American dentists about doing getting rid of amalgam, and they're doing composites in an environment where there's no isolation.
Oh.
And it's a complete disaster. And developing poor nations need amalgam, and they need to drink, Pepsi.
Right.
If the alternative is a composite
That won't hold
that
up.
won't even hold up. I mean, I watch dentists in Africa, several different nations, where they're doing composites while the patient's rinsing between every step.
Right.
But anyway, so now you've done volunteer dentistry.
Mm-hmm. Now I've kind of backed into volunteer dentistry. My introduction to it was through Water Step and working in the water end of it. Excuse me. And then I was invited to do credentialed, invited to do dentistry, and now I've
With what?
done
With the
more.
same company, Water Step?
Well, with the Navy's Department of Dentistry, the dental department of the Navy.
The dental department of the Navy has a volunteer dentistry section.
Yes.
Oh my God! I wish you would. Dental Town has 54 categories, and 50 categories, and one of them is humanitarian dentistry. And they're always I wish you would post a link to that. See, under the humanitarian dentistry.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I wish you would post. I mean, I never knew the Navy, so
Okay.
to talk about the Navy.
Well, the Navy occasionally runs humanitarian missions, and they use typically one of the hospital ships, the USNS Comfort or the USNS Mercy, which are big white ships with red
Wow.
crosses on them.
Oh my gosh.
One station, Mercy, is on the West Coast. The Comfort sails out of Norfolk, Virginia.
USS Mercy and USS Comfort.
USNS Comfort. NS Comfort.
USNS Comfort.
Yes,
And
their house,
USN.
NS Mercy.
Wow. Okay.
Now, every so often, they'll have one or both of those ships out to as a humanitarian mission to to go to various parts of the world. Like the Comfort generally goes to the Americas, to the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and it is composed, the crew, and that includes the dental department, is composed of military, joint forces, of allied partner military, dental officers, of civilian doctors and hygienists, and pre-dental students from the University of California at San Diego. Pre-Dental Society is where I got hooked up with it. So UCSD, PDS, is the NGO that
Does it? What do you know the website link for that?
right off I don't, but I can get that to you.
Well, could you post it on Dental Town under
Yeah.
humanitarian?
Yeah.
There's so many dentists that say they want to get into something like that, and I
Yes.
really recommend it because don't you think it's kind of like almost like a spiritual retreat?
Well, kind of. When you hear dental missions, or at least my interpretation, I always thought that it had to be kind of church related, and kind of the church lady will fix some teeth, but here's the gospel, which is fine. I look at it when I hear dental missions as like the Navy SEALs missions, a special ops mission. We're the dental special ops team that works to help a task, achieve a task, and help people in doing so.
Yeah, we under humanitarian dentistry, we definitely separated charitable dentistry from missionary dentistry, because some really want to do a religious mission,
Right.
and some want to do
Right.
charitable humanitarian.
Right. Exactly.
So with the Navy, it's a charitable.
Yes, it's a secular.
Secular.
You become, as a civilian, you are sign the MOU you will follow the military laws. You take your orders from the CO of the dental department. You stand formation with the sailors and other doctors that are assigned to the dental department, and you receive your assignment and you go to work. Sometimes you're doing work shipboard in the shipboard clinic. Other times you're off on land working in one of the land-based clinics. And the land-based clinics, Howard, have dental, as we talked about, but they also serve medical, veterinary, and optometry clinics when they do this. So each clinic in country usually sees between 600 and 700 patients a day.
Oh my gosh.
Dental sees typically several hundred. It's one of the biggies every day.
So where
on
have
these
you gone?
missions.
Where have you gone doing dentistry?
I've done dentistry in all the countries in Central America. I've been to several countries in South America. I've been to a large number of countries, islands in the Caribbean.
And what is your experience with this been?
Well, first of all, I have found it very rewarding for me. Especially, Howard, when you see people that have been lined up for a long period of time with their families, and usually weather that's very hot or very rainy, and they're standing out there having traveled long distance to see you as a dentist. A perfect stranger. Often you can't speak the language, but they've come with trust that you can help them with their issues, particularly their dental issues.
And you feel bad because after all day you're trashed and you got to rest. So you're sitting there relaxing, having a beer, and they're standing in line and it's pouring rain, and you know that lady's going to be there holding a kid when
She'll
you
be there.
wake up,
She'll be there tomorrow.
and you're just like, and then these dentists are like stressed out because of all these little things, and it seems like every time you go there and you get a whiff of what it's really like to be a human. Do you find, isn't it kind of reset your stress
It
level?
resets it. You're right. You have a stress level in the office, and we have all done that. We've known where patients have been late, and we got this big bill due the end of the month, and we've got those stresses that are on top of us. And when we're out doing, special ops dentistry, we're focused more on treatment. What can I do to get this person out of pain? What can I do that will help them? So you're thinking a little more touristically just about what can I do to help? And you will work hard, you'll be sweating, you will have bugs bugging you, you have sweat running down your back. We were in a big top, a tent in a clinic in Haiti, and the heat index was 130. The PrevMed docs were worried that everybody was going to get dehydrated and sick, but you charge on because people
And to
need
put
help.
Haiti and America in perspective, that one year they both had an earthquake of similar size in LA and Haiti. And in LA, I think 6 people died, and in Haiti, 250,000 people died.
Yes.
I mean, it was
that
just
in
what
2010.
a tragedy.
Yes.
What a tragedy.
Yes.
So when you're in a country like that, is it amalgam or is it composite? I mean, what? Or is it mostly extraction?
They usually, oftentimes, it's relief of pain and or do some basic restorative. So you get pretty good at extractions because a lot of times that's what you can offer. I personally do a lot of amalgam
Oh, you
because
evil monster.
I know.
I could tell there was something wrong with you. Doing a filling that lasts 38 years
Yeah.
instead of placing inert plastic that lasts 6.5 in a country with,
Yeah.
I know, I go on those missions, I'm like, are you kidding me? You almost doing a pulp cap.
Right.
And if you leave, what is he going to do?
Right.
And,
Right.
I mean, which do you think lasts longer?
Oh
Amalgam
gosh,
or-
amalgam.
By the best you can find on composites is that the average one lasts 6.5 years. The routine one you find on amalgams is 14 to 38 years.
Yeah.
And now you're in Tanzania and you're really going to do a composite?
And those numbers are usually taken from dental offices under more ideal conditions.
Right.
When you're in the hills somewhere, you're just trying to really get something in there, and amalgam's still the go-to for me.
Yeah. I assume you're talking about Goddard, Kansas, or you're talking about Rose Hill, Kansas.
Yeah,
But I don't care that you want to be a cosmetic dentistry, and I have nothing wrong with composites. I just wish the composite manufacturers would put a damn active ingredient in them.
Yeah.
Because there's no active ingredient in an inert plastic composite, and the next dentist that tells me that his composites with his hands, they are permanent, I've seen insurance data of 100 million fillings done. So either they're all being done by aliens that aren't from America, or they're the ones from your hand. It's the same dentist that says, well, I've never had a root canal fail. And then there's 4,000 endodontists who do 6 failed retreat. They average 3 retreating failed root canals a day. So that shows you how many immigrants moved to the United States with root canals done in other countries.
That's right.
Since none of the Americans have ever had a root canal fail.
Right.
But 4,000 endodontists retreat 3 of your failed root canals every day.
That's
right.
4,000
times 3. That's 12,000 a day. And you've never had a root canal fail, and your posterior composites are permanent. It must be fun to be you.
Not mine.
Yeah, it must be fun. So how could one of my homies who get involved in something like this?
Well, mission-based dentistry, we tend to think of it, or I used to think of it, I had to go to Ecuador, I had to go to Haiti, I had to go to Tanzania to do it. And really what I am going to talk about tomorrow in my CE course, the other side of that is you've got the home missions. You've got a RAM, the remote area medical RAM clinics that are available that you can go to within a couple hours drive.
A RAM?
Remote area medical. It's ramusa.org.
Interesting.
And they are here at the exhibit hall.
And is this a government agency?
Nope.
This
This is a secular NGO.
And what's an NGO?
NGO is a non-governmental organization. That means it's not part of government. Red Cross is an NGO. It is a non-government organization.
And how did you get involved with ramusa.org?
I happened to look around. I'd heard their name. I looked them up, went on the website, which is very comprehensive about them. And I work with the pre-dental students here at the University of Louisville. And we trained them as dental assistants in our local free clinics here, which is, again, part of our mission-based dentistry. And I take 6 to 10 pre-dental students with me to a RAM site, and they work with me and other doctors and other dental students as assistants. So they get to see in their pre-dental years what it's like to do clinical dentistry.
Man, those are some neat pictures on the site. My
They're a great
God.
organization.
So give an example of an American. It says over the past 34 years, remote area medical has provided free medical, dental, and vision to hundreds of thousands of people. So like, where have you done this at?
I've done it primarily in the states of Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia, regional, because when I'm taking my students, I like to kind of keep it within a 3 or 4 hour drive. So that's been my group. Now this summer, or actually this fall, my daughter is an optometrist out in Albuquerque, and RAM is going to have a clinic out in Roswell, New Mexico.
No way.
So we're going to work on
Area
aliens.
51?
Yeah, I guess so.
Are a million Americans really go to that, or is that all just the media?
Yeah. Who knows?
I had a patient come in from the military. I said, "Do you think a million people are going to storm Area 51?" And they go, "No." And I said, "What would happen if they do?" And they go, "They wouldn't. They won't. They can't.
They won't."
But anyway, so she's going to Roswell.
So yeah, and I think she and I will do the RAM clinic as a daughter-daddy thing at a RAM clinic.
So your daughter moved from Louisville to
she
Roswell?
She finished her optometry training and was in various parts of the country in her 4th year, and ended up meeting and marrying a Marine Sergeant Major based in Albuquerque, and so she is a practice associated with Indian Health there in Albuquerque.
Wow.
A tribal medical center.
I have a friend who had an only daughter, and she asked Dad if he would pay for her senior year of college if she could do the remote study in London for this special thing.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, sure. So he wrote the check for it, went over there, met a guy, fell in love, never came back. Now his only 2 grandchildren from his only daughter are in London. But at least Phoenix has a nonstop flight from Phoenix. It's 9 hours. I said there's worse things than a 9-hour nonstop flight to see your 2 grandchildren. Well, this is really amazing. And America is such a huge country. Yeah. A lot of people, in fact, I don't even think the term, I think the term United States of America makes as much sense as Europe. Because you don't compare Germany to Finland or Portugal to Greece. And you can't compare Anchorage to Manhattan. You can't compare Goddard, Kansas to Miami. Right. And there's areas, there's remote areas
very
of poverty in America.
Very much
so talk about that to the person who lives in downtown Nashville.
It's you won't believe it. I'll just give you an example. We were in Knoxville with my students at one of the RAM clinics. And when you see a patient comes to you, they've been triaged, and you try to get to know them and do a little chit chat before you start in their mouth. And so we asked this lady, nice, slightly older lady, we said, where are you from? And we expected to hear somewhere in the area like we've been hearing. And she said, Columbia, Missouri. Now, we were in Knoxville, Tennessee. And if you look on the map, Columbia, Missouri is halfway across the state of Missouri. And she was very matter-of-fact about it, just a sweet lady. She said, my kids took up a collection and got me a bus ticket so I could come to Knoxville and get my teeth fixed. And we go, she said, and then she said, I got off downtown and stayed in a homeless shelter, but it started to get too rough, and so I walked the 5 miles out to the clinic site in the dark, and this was wintertime, and it gets cold in Knoxville. So I could be in line to get a entry ticket at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And then she got in to see us.
You're never ever supposed to talk about politics, sex, religion, violence. But now that you're retired, you were a dentist, you retired. What does it make you think of the U.S. healthcare system? I mean, no system is perfect. I think everything. If you don't think everything can be better, faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, then you shouldn't go into business.
Right.
But what does it make you think of it? Because it seems to be the most controversial part of politics.
Which certainly does.
For not just now. I mean, you go back to when they started to Roosevelt. And Roosevelt, from Franklin Delano Roosevelt to now, politics of healthcare are off the charts. So what do you think of, how does it make you think? You were a healthcare provider in America. It's a subject you can't talk about. So this is Dentistry Uncensored.
Yeah.
Well, what does it make you think of U.S. healthcare?
I think the whole situation is a mess of healthcare, and I'll move dentistry off to the side for the moment. My wife, for instance, just recently retired from the Community Foundation, and she was on COBRA for the 18 months, and she's too young for Medicare when she's 65. So we have a gap year of about 10 months where we had to really scramble and only had one option to purchase some kind of insurance coverage, health insurance for that particular time because of regulations and what was available to us in the state at that time. I've also seen how government-run healthcare works in other countries. Not terribly impressed. They say it's there, but what is stated and what actually happens in the field to the individual is usually quite another thing. The promises are never really met, or what you think was promised definitely is never met. A lot of deficiencies. I don't know where the answers are. I'm not that smart. I'm just a dentist.
I want to weigh on that. One of the reasons that people love socialized medicine is because only 1% of a society spends a night in a hospital once a year. So if 99% never tasted the restaurant but are glad it's there if they're hungry, only 1% was actually there. And the only thing I know anything about in medicine is dentistry. And when I look at those national health programs, like in Japan, France, England, they pay $100 for a molar root canal. So I've done podcasts with dentists from Japan and France and London, in Japan, France, and London. They say, well, we can't do a molar root canal for $100 in Tokyo.
That's right.
So because of government socialized medicine, they extract the tooth and then place an implant. Because the implant, they can charge you $1,500 and pay their bills in Tokyo, where land is $1 million a square meter, and so it's so complicated. It is. It'll probably be a long time before anybody figures it out. So what's next for you?
Well, I plan on doing similar things. Again, a good part of the special ops dentistry, if you will, is also working in the community. The Louisville Dental Society works with several of the community medical facilities around that we come either with our portable van or have set up a dental clinic within that, so
you have a mobile dentistry.
Use mobile.
And who owns this? The
Louisville Dental Society
owns a mobile clinic.
Well, we lease a metro government has a van that they lease to us.
That's decked out for dentistry? You can rent a dental mobile clinic from the government?
Well, they happen to have one. But that's being changed.
I hope you make a post on Dental Town about all this. Because there's so many mind-blowing things you're saying with so many links. I mean, I've never heard of the USNS Comfort, the USNS I didn't know you could rent a mobile. But will you
We
make a
leased
post
it.
with these links and everything
I
on
will.
Dental Town?
I will.
That is just amazing. Gosh, I could talk to you for 40 days and 40 nights. Last question. Where does all this purpose, passion come from? Why aren't you just watching baseball games, drinking a beer?
Well, I do enjoy occasional baseball game, but Howard, it's like you, it's fine. It's hard for me to sit still. And as long as I'm able and capable and my hands work and my mind works mostly and I can see what I'm doing, I just choose to spend my time in something that's productive, something that's creative, something that helps someone.
You were born that way? Did your mom or dad make you that way? Where do you know where this came from?
I don't know. Like the song says, maybe I was born this way.
Well, Joe, Jacobi, thank you so much for all that you have done for dentistry, for your community, for everything. Good luck on your lecture tomorrow. And thanks for coming on my show and talking to my homies. I thoroughly enjoyed podcasting you, and I would love to see your notes posted because I know there's going to be a lot of people that want to do this.
Sure thing. I'd be glad to. And Howard, I want to thank you. For many years ago, you inspired me to think of dentistry a little bit different and think of the business of dentistry and how we needed to do the things we needed to do to make our offices inviting, to have the proper staff, the proper people there, and the proper training, and the rest comes with it.
Well, great. Thank you. Well,
thank you, Howard.
You and me should start a mutual admiration club.
Thank you.
We'll be the only two members.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you, buddy.